When Allah tested the brave, the forgotten battle, the wind howled through the barren valley, carrying the scent of dust, fire, and fate. The land was dry and cracked, the sky heavy with silence, as if the heavens themselves were waiting. It was the year when believers were tested, when swords sang louder than words, and hearts trembled not from fear, but from faith. They called it the forgotten battle, not because it lacked glory, but because it was a victory written not on earth, but in heaven. In the heart of the valley stood a small army of believers, barely 300 in number. Their clothes were torn, their armor rusted, but their spirits unbreakable. These were not warriors of greed. They were men of prayer, fighting not for land, but for the light of truth. Their leader, Commander Tariq ibn Nafius, stood upon a rock, watching the horizon turn red with the coming dawn. His eyes, dark and steady, saw what others feared to look upon, the endless march of the enemy. Beyond the dunes, a vast army approached. Thousands of soldiers gleaming in gold and steel, their banners black as night. They were led by King Sirach, a ruthless ruler who had sworn to wipe Islam from his land. He believed strength ruled the world, and mercy was a weakness. Tariq's men watched the horizon with heavy hearts. The sound of drums echoed, deep and terrible. One of them, a young warrior named Hassan, turned to his commander. "They are too many, my lord. If this is a test, then it is one beyond men." Tariq placed his hand on Hassan's shoulder. Every test beyond men is a call from Allah, and Allah never calls except to honor the brave. He looked at his men weary, hungry, but steadfast. "Remember," he said, "victory is not in the sword. Victory is in the soul that refuses to surrender." As the first light of day spread across the valley, the believers made ablution with the last of their water and prayed and rose. The sand cooled beneath their foreheads. The air trembled with their whispers. "O Allah, grant us patience and victory over the disbelievers." When they rose from sujud, the sound of horses thundered in the distance. The enemy had arrived. King Sirach sat upon a towering black horse, his armor engraved with dragons, his crown of iron glinting in the sun. He raised his sword and shouted, "Surrender your God, and I will let you live." Tariq called back, his voice calm but firm, "We will surrender nothing but our lives. And even those belong to Allah." A murmur of faith swept through the believers. Sirach sneered, "Then you will die forgotten." Tariq smiled faintly. "We may be forgotten by men, but not by our Creator." The horn of war sounded. The ground trembled as thousands of horsemen charged forward, dust rising like a storm. The believers tightened their formation, shields locked, hearts steady. Tariq raised his sword high. "Allahu Akbar!" He cried. The believers echoed him in unison, and their voices rolled like thunder across the valley. The two forces collided. The clash was deafening, steel on steel, cries of fury and faith blending into chaos. Dust and blood filled the air. Tariq fought with the calm of a man who had already surrendered his life to Allah. Every swing of his sword was an act of worship. Around him, his men fought like lions, outnumbered yet unbroken. Hassan fought beside him, his face streaked with blood and sweat. He shouted verses of the Quran as he struck, each word a weapon stronger than steel. But a sword caught his side, and he fell to his knees. Tariq turned, cutting down the attacker before kneeling beside Hassan. The young warrior's breaths were shallow. "Commander," he whispered, "did we fail?" Tariq shook his head. "Oh, my son, the brave never fail. Allah tests them so he may raise them higher." Hassan smiled faintly. "Then I am honored." His head fell back, his eyes fixed on the sky. Tariq closed his eyes for a moment, whispering, "May Allah grant you the highest rank of the martyrs." Then he rose, blood on his hands but fire in his heart. He lifted his sword and roared, "For every believer who falls, 1,000 angels rise." The believers surged forward with renewed strength. They fought not for survival, but for truth. Hours passed. Sun climbed high and merciless, burning the valley. The believers' numbers dwindled, yet their faith blazed stronger. King Sirach watched in frustration. "Why do they not break?" he snarled. "They bleed, they fall, and still they fight." His general bowed. "Guess they fight for something we cannot see and cannot kill." Sirach's face twisted with rage. Then I will kill their faith myself. He spurred his horse and charged toward Tariq, cutting through his own soldiers to reach him. The two commanders met in the center of the battlefield, the tyrant and the believer. Sirach's blade struck like lightning, heavy and precise. Tariq parried, his arms trembling from exhaustion, his breath ragged, but his eyes never left the sky. Your Allah does not hear you, Sirach spat. He cannot save you. Tariq's voice was steady. He is closer to me than your sword is. Sirach roared and swung. Tariq deflected the blow, stepped forward, and with one final burst of strength, drove his sword into the tyrant's chest. Sirach gasped, his crown slipping from his head. How? How do you win with nothing? Tariq leaned close and whispered, because we fight with everything, our hearts, our faith, our lives. The tyrant fell from his horse, lifeless. The battle did not end immediately, but something broke in the hearts of the enemy. Seeing their king fall, their courage melted. One by one, they dropped their weapons and fled. And then there was silence. Tariq looked around him at the fallen believers, at the torn banner of Islam still standing upright in the wind. His heart ached with both grief and gratitude. The surviving men gathered around him, their faces streaked with dust and tears. Tariq spoke softly, Brothers, today Allah tested us, and we did not fail. We were few, but we stood firm. We lost much, but we gained eternity. He knelt, pressing his forehead to the blood-soaked earth. Alhamdulillah, he whispered. Victory belongs to Allah alone. That night, beneath a sky glittering with stars, the surviving believers buried their martyrs. They marked each grave with a stone, whispering verses of mercy. Tariq stood before the graves, his heart heavy. You were tested, he said quietly, and you passed with honor. A gentle breeze swept through the valley, carrying the faint echo of their prayers toward the heavens. Years passed, the valley turned quiet again, the sands covering the traces of that day. Empires rose and fell, kings came and went, but the story of those brave believers was lost to history, yet Allah never forgets. Centuries later, a traveler crossing that same valley found an old sword half buried in the sand. Upon its blade were faint words carved in Arabic, when Allah tested the brave. They stood firm, and faith prevailed. The traveler raised his eyes to the horizon. For a moment he thought he heard something, a distant whisper carried by the wind, a voice from the past. Allahu Akbar. We are not forgotten. He fell to his knees. Overwhelmed, the valley was silent, but he knew what he had heard. That day he renamed the place Wadi al-Sabirin, the Valley of the Patient. And to this day, when the desert wind blows across that land, it carries the memory of those who stood when others fled, the warriors who were tested by Allah, and who passed the test with their blood, their prayers, and their unwavering faith. For the brave are never forgotten, not by time, not by history, and never by Allah.